It looks like we would have a quorum.
We do have quorum, Madam Chair.
Okay, excellent. Good afternoon. This is our MAG Regional Violence Council meeting for February 3rd, and welcome. Let's call the meeting to order. This meeting is being recorded and live streamed on YouTube as a way for members of the public to participate. I will ask that you keep your microphones on mute when you are not speaking, and for the purposes of the meeting minutes, I will ask that you state your name before any comments. And if we can have our introductions, that would be great.
Would you like me to do roll call, Madam Chair?
Yes, please.
Okay. Celeste Adams.
Here.
Zach Altman. Lupe Bandon.
Here.
Joshua Clark. Christine Ellis.
Here.
DC Ernst. Gary Friedel.
Present, and can I please make a note that I'm at another town function, so I may have to drop out a little bit early. Thank you.
Thank you. Laura Guild.
Present.
Christine McDonald.
Here.
Elizabeth Herbert.
Present.
Samantha Hinchy.
Here.
Mary Lynn Kasanick.
Here.
Patricia Clark. Andrew Lefevre.
Excuse me, Tricia Claus here. Sorry about that.
Thank you, ma'am. Andrew Lefevre.
Heather Bonet for Andy Lefevre.
Thank you. Rick Levas. Amy Offenberg.
Present.
Gerardo Pena.
Present.
Mayor Bridget Peterson.
Here.
Chris Charlo.
Here.
Kelly Shore. Melissa Thomas.
Present.
Brandon Wilson. And Joshua Eisenstein on behalf of Sarah Youngblood.
Present, thank you.
Thank you. Madam Chair, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you. Unless there are any questions, we'll move on to the next item, which is call to the audience. And please note that members of the public were given an opportunity to submit written comments relating to this meeting for azmag.gov/comment within 1 hour of the posted start time for the meeting. Kelly, has staff received any comments from the audience or the public?
No, Madam Chair, we have not.
Okay, thank you. If not, we'll proceed to the next item, which is our approval of the meeting minutes for November 18th. I need to see if there's a motion to approve the meeting minutes. I see you, but we don't hear you. Thank you. Okay, and that's by
Councilwoman Van Deen.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Jerry Friedel, second.
Thank you, Jerry Friedel. And please indicate your vote with a yay, nay, or abstention, and Kelly will do a roll call for the vote.
Celeste Adams.
Yes.
Zach Altman. Lupe Bandin.
Yay.
Joshua Clark.
Yay.
Christine Ellis.
Councilmember Christine Ellis, yay.
Dolores Ernst. Gary Friedel.
Councilman Jerry Friedel, yay.
Laura Guild.
Yay.
Christine McDonald.
Yay.
Elizabeth Herbert.
Sorry, I'm yay. I was on mute.
Okay. Samantha Hinchy.
Yay.
Mary Lynn Kasanick.
Yay.
Patricia Clark,
Yay.
let's see here, I know, Heather Bonnet on behalf of Angela Fever.
Yay.
Rick Levas, Amy Offenberg,
Yay.
Gerardo Pena,
Yay.
Mayor Peterson,
Yay.
Chris Charlau,
Yay.
Kelly Shore, Melissa Thomas,
Yay.
Brandon Wilson, Joshua Eisenstein on behalf of Sarah Youngblood,
Yay.
and Chair Norton.
Yay, and we also have Vice Chair DC Ernst joining us.
Wonderful. Thank you. It will be noted in the attendance. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, thank you very much, Kelly. Okay, for item 4, I'd like to introduce Jody Hecker with DES to offer an update on this important partnership to address abuse of older adults. And this is with the U.S. Department of Justice, the Office of Violence Against Women, Arizona Abuse and Later Life Grant. Jody, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Jody Hector. I'm the program coordinator for the Arizona Abuse and Later Life Project Grant. I'm here to give an update. So as a special condition from the Office of Violence Against Women, as per the grant requirements, we are required to develop a legal remedies and victims resource guide, specifically for victims or survivors of late life abuse. So we meet monthly with our partners, and last month we met to begin work on this resource guide. So the resource guide is not intended to be a training manual. Rather, it's a resource guide available for law enforcement to use as a reference in the field. So to complete the task, information related to elder abuse was gathered from a combination of resources. So we used information from the Vulnerable Adult Protocol. We used the APS Senior Toolkit and Resource Guide. And then we also used and gathered some resources from the AAA Region 1's Resource Guide related to elder abuse. And during that meeting in January of 2022, we met in small groups to discuss each of the sections. And we wanted to just revise the draft, and it's a work in progress. So we will continue to work on this in our next meeting in February. And once we finalize that document, we will send it to the OVW for approval. Then the guide will be given to law enforcement to be part of a training that is required as well. And that will be completed. The training for law enforcement will be in the summer of 2022. In addition, we have created a budget modification that has been submitted to OVW, and we're waiting for approval. And once the budget is approved, the funds will be released. And as written in the grant strategic plan, the AAA Region 1 agency hired a housing specialist, and that position will begin to help victims find emergency housing and/or transitional housing to keep them safe. So hopefully the funds will be released soon, and then we can start providing some direct services to the victims of late life abuse. And that is it. That is my update on the grant. Thank you for an opportunity to speak of this.
Thank you, Jody. We are committed to working with you and supporting these efforts. We are proud to partner with you on such important work. Do any members of the committee have any questions for Jody on this?
Yeah, Samantha Hinchy here from ACES-DV. I was just curious who's doing the training for law enforcement.
So it was originally going to be like a train that we were going to be trained with like a group of trainer of the law enforcement. However, because of COVID, it's going to be virtual. So NCAL is responsible for creating the webinars for law enforcement. So it'll be a series of webinars that the officers can do at their own pace. So that was kind of their solution to COVID and in-person training, since we can't do those.
Awesome.
It's already, the trainings have already been created by NCAL.
Okay. And then do they get ASPOST to take those trainings, or like what's the motivation, I guess? for them
So
to
first, we're going to start with our partners. So we have the Maricopa County Sheriff's Department and the Phoenix Police Department. So we'll start with those two law enforcement agencies. And we do have some connections with AZ Post, and we're hoping to get it on the list of like optional trainings that law enforcement can take, so that anybody can take the law enforcement training. So we're working on that.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Samantha. Are there any other questions for Jody on this? Okay, hearing none. Thank you so much, Jody, for the presentation, and we look forward to updates as you have them.
Thank you.
Let's go on to item 5, and this is regarding the DOVES program. And Mary Lynn Kasunik, President and CEO of the Area Agency on Aging, and her colleague Alice Garib. Did I say that correctly?
Yeah.
Alice? Okay.
Very good, actually. Very good.
Thank you. We'll share information about the DOVES program. The DOVES program helps victims of late life domestic violence overcome the unique challenges that older victims face with it when they attempt to protect themselves and leave abusers. We are thankful to Mary Lynn and Alice for joining us today. Ladies, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you, Madam Chairman. The next slide, please. A lot of the statistics about domestic violence, I think many of you are aware of. The one that I wanted to point out was the last one there, that for many years now, 30% of domestic violence related deaths are for victims age 50 and over. When we think of domestic violence, we usually think of young couples, but in fact, it really does occur in older life. Next slide, please. In my generation, because of our upbringing, marriage was considered a sacred sacrament. We took our vows for better or for worse, in sickness and health, till death do us part. And to get a divorce was considered a sin and, of course, a big shame. And so a lot of these other characteristics of domestic violence you're aware of, but I think that's one of the things that kept many of us when we were younger in a abusive relationship, because of that commitment to marriage. Next slide, please. This slide should probably be, considered the evolution of DOVES. It was back in the early 1900s that 1990s, I'm sorry, not 1900s, but 1990s that we started looking at and working on areas issues around elder abuse. And one day we were sitting around drinking coffee and said, I wonder if domestic violence still occurs in older individuals. And so we went out and surveyed all the shelters, and they said, yes, older women show up, but most of them don't stay. Most of the people in the shelter are young women with children, and they just don't feel comfortable there. And so we started in 1995 to do community education. And rather than go out and give boring talks, we ended up creating a play that we received funding from the governor's office and then eventually from DOJ to do 2 videos, one called The Dance and the other, the Spanish version of it, called No Waste or Valle. And everywhere we showed the videos, we would always have 2 or 3, usually women, come up to us and say, that's my story. That's what happened to me. That's my story. And so we thought, well, what else can we do? And so we started with a support group out in the Sun Cities area. And those, Alice will talk to you about it. They have grown, the number have grown. And in the support groups, they were never told that they needed to leave their abuser, but we're learning about safety planning and just having somebody to talk to, knowing that they're not alone. And they said, but where do we go? We call a shelter, they're always full. And so we created what we call emergency housing. And so I was very proud of it. Oh, someone needs to get away, and we use assisted living facilities. They could stay there for 2 weeks while we tried to help them find another place. And Alice came one day and tapped me on the shoulder and said, Mary Lynn, I think you need to stop bragging. Because 50% of the women have no place to go after the couple weeks in emergency housing. And so we got a group of community leaders together and decided what we really needed was transitional housing. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes. And then we created Interim Housing, and then in 2016, with funding, we were able to start Mobile Advocacy, and Alice will tell you about that. And as Jody mentioned, our latest initiative this year is we got some funding for a half-time housing specialist, because that's the biggest problem is helping people find housing. So I'll now turn it next slide to Alice to talk about support groups.
Okay. Thank you, Mary Lynn. So as Mary Lynn stated, we started with one group in the Sun Cities area. We're currently in 4 different areas throughout Maricopa County. Obviously, COVID has changed all of our lives, including how we are conducting our services, and support groups are one of them. So people were not wanting to come to in-person groups for fear of the virus, especially as older individuals. That makes sense. And so, you know, we started hearing that other programs are doing Zoom groups, and we wondered if our older generation would be capable of participating in Zoom. I mean, you know, we're not, as older women, we're not brought up with the technology, and we're not as savvy as today's younger people. Lo and behold, just as we've known for a very long time, our older individuals are so resilient, and they gladly get on Zoom groups. I will tell you, there are times where I will have 10 women in one Zoom group. We're actually thinking of maybe breaking them down into smaller groups. But the focus of the groups is to provide support, education, validation, and most importantly, safety planning. As Mary Lynn had already mentioned, our groups are not about divorce or separation. They are about safety and self-perseverance. And that's especially important, again, with this older generation and their beliefs that they married for better or worse. Knowing that they can come and learn and get support and learn resources is crucial for them. And updated safety planning, especially for those that are still living in their abusive situations. What's different about support groups is some of the content that we talk about. For example, we don't talk about young children, we talk about adult children. We talk about Social Security and Medicare and senior HUD housing. And so the topics and the resources that we talk about sound very different than, for example, in a mixed age group. Again, this often is the first time these women are validated that it's not their fault and they're not alone. We've actually had we do evaluations on our services. And what always struck me as being amazing is one woman had said, these groups have helped me reconnect with my higher power.
Okay, the next slide, please. Alice.
Oh, again, I apologize. Emergency housing. So as Mary Lynn said, we started this program in 1996. And it actually served as a model program, as a model for other programs across the country. What's, again, unique about this emergency housing program that we developed is that the housing providers were assisted living facilities, adult foster care homes, and finally skilled nursing centers. That when they had an empty bed, they donated it to us for 14 days free of charge. Again, what's special about this is that these housing providers are already set up to meet the needs of older people. So as Mary Lynn talked about, in our traditional shelters, they're not what I call user-friendly to the older individual. Like I said, this program, it has served hundreds of people. That particular program, we've been able to serve men and women. And it has been truly a godsend for many of them for at least 14 days.
All right, and so Alice, let's move on to the next slide. So let me talk a little bit. So once, we knew we needed transitional housing, we checked around and found that what would work for older women or older victims, or men and women survivors, would be to have their own apartment, not to be in a group setting. And so we had a hard time finding something that was affordable. And so we went to see Vice Mayor Peggy Bilstein at the city of Phoenix and the Arizona Department of Housing and asked them for money. And so Vice Mayor Bilstein got us $1 million from the city of Phoenix, and we received almost $300,000 from the Arizona Department of Housing. And so we were able to buy a 17-unit, 1-bedroom, 500-square-foot apartment complex. It really looks like an old Motel 6. You can see all the little buildings. And in the middle was a swimming pool. And people were like, oh, well, you're not going to, keep the swimming pool. And we're like, well, why not? And so anyway, the next slide, you can see that although people said, oh, well, all they need is, 4 white walls and, a lamp or something. We actually had student interior decorators, and we have churches and the communities that come in and decorate the place and make it look nice and homey. The next slide is a picture of a little kitchenette. So they have a little kitchenette, they have a dining room, they have a living room, and they have a 1-bedroom and a little bathroom, and they love it. They have, peace and quiet. And they don't have to worry about trying to live with other individuals as you would. It is our understanding this is the only transitional housing apartment complex in the whole United States for older victims of domestic violence or elder abuse. All right, the next slide, Alice is going to talk about what happens when they come into transitional housing.
So let me start off by saying the primary goal of our transitional housing program is to help older individuals, victims and survivors achieve self-sufficiency. The focus obviously needs to be on safe, permanent, affordable housing and on some kind of generating some kind of income. They can stay with us for up to 2 years. And during that time, they're provided with, I would say, intensive case management at first. If they need to meet with us every day, we meet with them every day. And often it'll be once a week and eventually once every 2 weeks. But initially, again, because of the population we're working with, many of them were so isolated and controlled. Things such as online banking or paying the bills are a foreign concept to them. We do a lot of hands-on with our participants. Our services include case management, which focuses on, for example, budgeting, their credit, computer skills. Just yesterday, when I was leaving the site, our transitional housing program manager was getting ready to conduct what she called a technology class, teaching them how to send emails and how to apply online. It's amazing how much they are like sponges and just want to learn and are eager to learn and will work as hard or harder than any other person, any other grade age group I know. To date, we have served 179 individuals. And Mary Lynn, I'm going to brag a little bit now.
Oh, that's okay.
I'm sorry, I just wanted to say, and those of us that are doing this work every day, to have a less than 1% recidivism rate is really something to brag about, Mary Lynn.
Okay. All right, good. Yeah, no, staff do a great job. The next slide, very quickly, is interim housing. As we've been talking all along, the biggest problem is trying to find, after the 2 years are up, trying to someone still might be going to school. They haven't saved enough money to have an apartment. So we went back to Vice Mayor Peggy Bilstein, and she got us, she donated to us 3 apartments in one of the senior housing projects. And so they can go and stay there for a few months until they get on their feet. And so our last slide here is the next slide with Alice to talk briefly about mobile advocacy.
Yeah. So this is the newest component of our DOVES program, our mobile advocacy services. And the way I like to describe it is we are taking our services and meeting the person where they are in the community. These services can be provided over the phone and now over Zoom. We sometimes can go to the individual's home if extensive safety planning indeed shows that it is safe to do so. And we are talking about staff and the victim and survivor as well. We can meet with them at the main office, or we meet with them in local locations around where they live. So like, for example, because of this program, I now know that McDonald's has the most delicious coffee. They put Starbucks in their back pocket, just to let you know. This program was, I'm sorry. So some of the services we provide are legal advocacy as well as court accompaniment, the case management, safety planning all the time. That I would say that is the focus of all of our services. The program was started in 2016, and since then we have served 1,929 clients.
Okay, thank you. And Kelly, do we have time to see a very brief video?
Madam Chair and Mary Lynn, yes, absolutely.
I think we're ready for it.
Just one moment.
Okay.
We lived in a remote area where he could keep me isolated. I couldn't make phone calls unless he was right there listening. He'd even disable the car so I couldn't go out on my own. It was a very abusive marriage. Secretly, I got a letter to the police through a neighbor who knew what was going on, and the police are the ones that got me out of there. I left everything behind, got an order of protection, and moved as far away as I could. I searched everywhere for help, even government agencies, but I couldn't find any services for someone my age. I was virtually homeless when someone at my new church referred me to the DOVES program. Thanks to DOVES, here I am, safe in my own apartment, and truthfully, DOVES saved my life.
I see women like this every day. Living in these abusive relationships often has taken away any power and control that these women have, and as a result, they end up feeling very helpless and hopeless. They grew up with very rigid gender roles. I mean, the social and cultural values they were raised with basically dictated to them that they married for better or worse, and divorce was often not an option for her. There's also the element of financial instability and insecurity. Most of these women stayed home and raised their children and never really worked outside the home, and so therefore she has no Social Security, no pension of her own, and is dependent upon her husband for financial security. So as a result, she feels that leaving is not an option for her.
Well, I personally believe as a public servant that it is our honor and obligation to care for those who are hungry, who are without shelter, who I would say are most vulnerable. And I think we think about that all the time with children, but we forget about that with our older adults.
The DOVES program provides services to individuals 50 and older who are victims of either late life domestic violence or elder abuse. We provide late life domestic violence support groups throughout the county, and they are open to community participants. We also provide emergency housing and transitional housing. The program has enabled individuals to make very positive, significant life changes.
As a community, we say this is a priority. We don't want people to have to continue to live in homes where they are being beaten or threatened. We want them to have safety. And these people have value and significance. It's an investment in a sustainable community. I think it's one of the best investments you can make.
I was in an abusive marriage most of my life. My husband threatened me, emotionally, mentally abused me, and the abuse got so bad till I wanted to commit suicide. And one day, I found the DOG program, and I could tell that these were people that really cared about me. They helped me get into a program to learn computer skills and clerical skills. I've been in food service most of my life. I even own 2 restaurants. I started my own catering business. The name of my catering is called CJ's Taste of the South. And by being in the DOG program, learning clerical skills, it has helped me with my business end of my catering. I also wrote a cookbook that's soon to be published. Through the DOG program, I saved my money, I bought me a home, I'm happy. I really appreciate what they did for me, and no one have ever helped me like the DOG program.
All right, thank you.
Wow.
Thank you, Mary.
Very good. Mary and Alice, thank you so much for presenting that. Yes, I think we all would like to give you a big applause to the entire DOVES program and for what you're doing. I'm going to imagine that several members may have questions. So please, I have some, but I will wait for others to speak. So please, if you have a question for Mary or Alice, identify yourself and ask the question. Any, no, okay, well, I have a couple of questions, okay? All right. This was the video that, is this the video you were talking about that you have for them?
Well, this is one we had done more recently. The other one, the dance and Oyster Valle, they're like a little bit longer. They're more like 20, 25 minutes, a little too long. But if any of you want, just, let us know and we can ship you out a copy of those other 2 videos.
Okay, that was one question I had, because I'd like to find out if it's possible where we could, if we have something here locally in our own community, where we can use that video, either of those 2 videos locally. Is that possible?
Oh, sure. No, we've actually distributed, I think, almost 1,000 of them all over the United States and even internationally. So, yes, you can do that. And if you needed someone to answer questions after the video, I'm sure Alice would be, glad to come and be a backup if people have questions.
Okay, great. Thank you. And then I also, the age limit on the older program for the housing and so on, is that age 50 and older?
Yes, we started out 60 and over, and then we dropped it to 55. And then people that were 50 and over were saying, I can relate better to you than I can to the 20-year-old. And so it's for individuals 50 and over, both men and women. And it's one of the advantages also to having single apartments, because we're able to have, a man can have his own apartment, woman can have her own apartment. So it is people 50 and over.
Okay, and then with the current housing crisis, the way the rents are going sky high, homes are getting more and more expensive. for the, those that are in the housing, what's happening now after 24 months if they can't afford to, you know, get into something, rent or to buy? What, and I know you had gotten a few more apartments from the city of Phoenix. Outside of that, are there any other options?
Well, I'm going to let Alice take that, other than to say that what Jody had talked about was the abuse in later life. It provides us a half-time housing specialist, and there's also money that was written in the grant to help pay for like either temporary housing or hotel. And we have used our own money sometimes in a dire situation to put someone into, you know, a hotel until we can find something else for them. But Alice, do you want to just mention anything about the housing issue?
Well, I mean, I think you did a pretty good job answering the question, Mary Lynn. That's why this housing specialist is a godsend right now, because of the very things you just talked about, Madam Chair. You know, basically, we've been very fortunate in that we've been fortunate that no one actually had to go back out into the streets. Part of that is because, you know, we may give them a day or two just to kind of breathe once they come in, but as soon as they're in the program, that's the first focus. Everybody has that housing goal. And so they're getting on all kinds of wait lists. They're applying for all kinds of housing. Just recently, the emergency housing voucher has come out, and that has been absolutely wonderful. So within the 2-year period, they're with us, and then we do have the interim housing. We are finding some kind of safe housing for them, whether sometimes it could be relocating out of state because the housing there is a better situation. It could be going to stay with family until their voucher does come up or their name on the wait list comes up. We get very creative.
Okay, thank you. And then I have one more question. The online, the Zoom support groups that you're doing now, and you had said you started the first one that was in Sun City. Is there a way that we can, through Doves, get some locally here in our own local areas? I know with COVID, it's really put a damper on meeting in person. And so your program, you have, I think you said 10, and you feel that you have to maybe even split that into a smaller group. So is it possible to get Doves to help create some local Zoom support groups?
Sure. I mean, I think there are two things. One is an in-person. What we require is that it be a very confidential address so that if they're still living with abuser, they don't know where they may be going to the church or to the library or wherever it might be. And so if you want to work with us, you can to create some local support groups. But I think in the meantime, I can have Alice reach out to you. But if it's a virtual support group, you don't have to live in a particular area. Right. I mean, you could, all over the county, you could come into a support group. So it doesn't have to just be Mesa or Phoenix or Sun City or wherever. Because it's virtual, like we are here today, we're from all over the county. And so I will have Alice reach out to you to, provide you the support you need to get some of the people from your local area.
Yeah, I think that would be good. It has turned out that during the entire last 2 years with the pandemic, that domestic violence has actually increased. And, but yet we haven't had that way of, getting them out into a place to meet because of that fear of the spread of COVID. So,
yeah. And don't forget too, also about Alice talking about the mobile advocacy, where they don't have to go into a group setting, but they might meet her somewhere or just do it by phone. And so clearly, yeah, reach out to us and we can help older victims. And we know, especially with COVID, especially with, say, the abuser working from home, she doesn't even get a break when he goes off to work. He's there 24/7, and then he, whatever, or she, if she's the abuser. So clearly, we can work with individuals regardless if it's in person or virtual.
Right. Okay, great. Thank you. Are there any questions or comments on this topic? All right. And Kelly, have we received any comments from the public on this?
We have not, Madam Chair, but you do have several hands raised.
Okay.
Vice Chair
Oh,
Ernst?
I see. Ernst. Okay. Vice Chair Ernst, please.
Good afternoon. Are you guys still only able, or excuse me, can we as crisis response teams still only access the emergency housing during business hours?
Alice, can you help with that?
Sure. Go ahead.
Well, let me just say one thing. Is the number that was on your screen, which was 602-264-4357, is a 24-hour senior helpline. So we pay staff to staff that line 24/7. So that, you could make the call. We probably couldn't in the middle of the night find a place for someone, but first thing in the morning, start working on what we can do to help the victim survivor.
Mary, can you give us that number one more time, please?
Yes, it's 602-264-4357, and the last four numbers spell help, H-E-L-P. So 24-hour senior helpline, and their intake for everything.
Okay, thank you. All right, and then committee member Melissa Brickhouse Thomas.
My question was similar to DC, which is is there emergency services? So that was half of it. And then my other question for the transitional housing, how quickly can that be mobilized? So somebody reaches out to you on a Monday, how quickly are we anticipating with availability until somebody can get into that transitional housing?
Well, unfortunately, we have a waiting list that goes from 5 to 10 individuals. So Alice, would you say probably at least a month or so before someone can get in?
I would say it's quite a bit more than that, Mary Lynn. We're looking at least 6 months.
Sometimes. I mean, it depends on the turnover from the people that are there. But in the meantime, we want to make sure, staff said that the referrals are down. We want to make sure that they're getting into support groups, they're getting into the mobile advocacy. And now with the housing specialist, maybe we can find them some temporary housing. And so, we're working on it all the time. But as we've been talking about, domestic violence continues to grow. And so the demand really outmeets what we have available, especially in the area of transitional housing.
Yeah. And I just want to add to that, echo what Mary Lynn just said. It's really important if you're working with an older individual who's a victim of abuse, at least for them to reach out and talk to somebody. Perhaps we can help them through our mobile advocacy case management services. We're a little more well-versed in aging resources. For example, senior HUD housing, they have much lower, shorter wait lists than regular subsidized housing. And the support groups, again, just at least to be able to have that safety planning and the support from other people, other women that know exactly what they're going through. It's huge for an older victim. It breaks the isolation.
Thank you.
Thank you. With that long wait list, there still is something in place where there's an emergency where it's literally a do or die situation. There would be something.
Yeah,
for
well,
them.
I think we refer them to the, other DV services, and maybe they get into a shelter, because we get referrals from shelters also. So we work with them to try to see what in an emergency, what we can help them with. And with a new housing specialist, I think it's going to even be better, and we'll be able to serve more people.
For sure.
Very good. Amazing work. Thank you so much.
I'm so sorry, Madam Chairman. I have a question. Is that
Yes.
okay? Do we have time?
Yes, please. I see.
I swear it's going to be quick.
No problem.
I think, Mary, you might have just answered it, but I was just wondering if you all coordinate with Safe DVS. Are you a partner with them in
All the
Maricopa
time.
County?
All the
That's what I
time,
thought.
Samantha.
Thank
All
you,
the
Paula.
time. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, good, thank you. I have Cindy's direct cell phone. Trust me, and she
Awesome.
has mine. So
Yeah.
there's ongoing communication between Doves and Safe DVS for sure.
Wonderful. And then my second question, promise it's short again. Are survivors allowed to bring their pets with them when they come into shelter, or they come to your transitional housing?
Right now, we are limited to emotional pet therapy animals.
Okay.
Service animals and emotional pet therapy animals.
Okay. So they have to have a certified letter from the state of Arizona saying that they're an emotional support animal. No?
No,
Okay.
nothing certified from the state of Arizona, no.
Okay.
A service animal obviously is certified.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome so much.
Thank you, Alice, your presentation, and Mary Lynn. Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Samantha, for your question. Are there any, I don't see any other hands up. Okay. So again, we want to thank Mary and Alice for presenting. Very, very, very impressive. And a big thanks to the city of Phoenix for what they've provided. And DC Ernst, you have your hand up, so please. Oh, okay. I have to read this sign language. Applause. Okay. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so very much. We really appreciate it. And I'm still looking to tour the facilities too, Alice. So thank you.
No, we'll do it. I promise. We'll get it done.
Right.
I'll hound you.
Okay. Well, I think we're finished with all the holidays and sickness and I got married during that time too. So, okay. Thank you very much. We will go ahead and go on to item 6. And this is Bloomberg Global Mayor's Challenge Employment Focus. The Regional Domestic Violence Council agreed on a focus of workforce development and employment for 2022. Quaylen Waller, the Human Service Department Deputy Director for the City of Phoenix, will share with us about Phoenix being recently awarded a $1 million prize to help with regional unemployment. Quaylen, the floor is yours. Thank you for being here, and I hope I pronounced your name properly.
You did. You did a great job, Madam Chair. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Quaylen Waller. I am the Deputy Director of the Human Services Department Business and Workforce Development Division. We are part of the statewide workforce development network called Arizona at Work. And so most fondly, we're called Arizona at Work, City of Phoenix. And so that's what our name on the street is normally called. So I'm responsible for managing all of our federal funded workforce development programs under the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act of 2014, also referred to as WIOA. And then we have non-federal programs that we do, such as the one I'm going to talk to you about today. So we, my team here, decided that we were going to work with our mayor's office, city manager's office, to develop a new workforce concept We are piloting our new workforce mobile unit with Bloomberg Philanthropies. Just to give you a little bit of background, last year, we applied as a city to the 2021 Mayor's Global Challenge. In June, we were notified that we were one of 50 champion cities selected out of 660 finalists to move into kind of the stage where you're kind of testing your idea. So the competition really is responsible for identifying and accelerating ambitious ideas in response to COVID-19. So as a finalist, we've worked over probably 6 months to kind of redefine our idea. And then we had to submit an additional application. And that's what where we are today. So I'm going to give you a little bit of background. So if you can go to the next slide. Okay, so the issue among us was really, we use a lot of data in workforce. We have a really robust database. I have a wonderful business systems analyst. So we identified what the issue was. So we identified that we had seen a 52% decrease in individuals engaging in the workforce during the pandemic. That's huge. And so what the staff did with that data was actually do a little research. So we have clients that use our services for workforce. And so we did some empathy interviews with them to really figure out what were the prominent barriers. So what they told us was that one of the reasons was limited education and qualifications, just overall health, either for them or maybe they were dealing with an aging parent, family obligations, often that's childcare issues, transportation, and technology. One of the things I really wanted to note is that we've seen most people think technology has to do to access to the internet and a computer. Majority of the individuals that we see in our workforce programs just do not have the necessary skills to even use a computer. And so we were not able, part of our workforce program is giving people basic computer classes. If you don't have basic computer skills, you cannot do a basic computer class virtually. Next slide. So the big idea was, and it's just a very generic name, we didn't know what to call it, but it's the Mobile Career Unit. We actually were very blessed to be able to use retired dial-a-ride vehicles from our not streets department, but our public transit department. And we actually wrap them in the wrap you see today. And it says driving your future forward. Part of our empathy interviews was identifying what type of resources needed to be in that vehicle. That included technology, also kind of resources for referrals to other agencies, doing virtual interviews, providing just guidance, career navigation services, resume referrals, also being able to refer to any training program, workforce programs. And then basically what we are using is all that data that I talked about. So combining my federal workforce, and this mobile unit is a little different because this is, we say it's the putting the everything that potentially a job seeker would need and kind of connecting the dots and then finding an employer on the other end. Next slide. And so we did a couple of 3 different sessions with residents to get their feedback on kind of the concept and what we would present in the unit. We also had employer feedback sessions where we talked to employers and took them through like a little journey. You will see there's a slide there that kind of has some visuals. We actually took the employer through what we were looking for and if that's something they could provide. And so we did that with employers and then also talking with the staff, basically seeing what are you seeing when people are coming into the job center, what types of questions, what types of jobs, what kind of recommendations you could make that you would like to also see in the mobile unit. So we took A through C, we compiled all that information and we put in the mobile unit for testing. So next slide. So the first, we call them prototypes. So the first kind of prototype we did was to test to see if all this information we gathered and researched, was it telling, is it correct? So we did an event at Burton Bar Library. We had 26 attendees attend. Part of the process is doing an interactive kind of survey to kind of gauge how you feel about the unit, what's going on. We had 4 employers who did 4 employer pre-screens with the Renaissance Hotel, meaning that the hotel actually pre-screened 4 potential employees. 1 person was offered a job on site, paying $16.25 an hour. You'll see Mayor Gallego in the unit participating in a virtual interview. So we actually had equipment in the unit where the employer, the Renaissance Hotel, was actually interviewing people on site. And then Andrea Coleman with Bloomberg actually came out to see our project. Next slide. Just some more additional videos of people using the unit and what the unit looked like. Like I said, one of the processes was just getting feedback about how the unit felt and felt, people's experience and things like that. Next slide. The second prototype we did was with Food City. We had 19 attendees attend the event. We did 12 interactive survey participants. So that's out of the 19, 12 people participated in the survey about the unit. Food City made 4 offers on the spot to individuals. The gentleman below, he was actually hired on the spot and was super grateful. Next slide. Just some additional photos from our event and our unit. You see our staff is there with tablets talking with people, and the unit is behind there, the unit that we use. Next slide. Okay, so where we are now. So out of the 660 cities that applied and 50 finalists, in January, we were named one of 15 finalists to receive $1 million in technical assistance over the next 3 years. Only 3 of those cities are in the US. All the other cities are global. And so we are joining 2 other cities, basically in the US, that were granted the privilege to work with Bloomberg over the next 3 years. Most of I think out of the 15 cities, 5 of them have workforce concepts. Of the US cities, only 2 of them. And so that is Phoenix and Rochester, New York have concentrated on workforce. Next slide. So what are our next steps? So we actually are in the process of finding a mobile career unit. With the chip shortage, we are probably not going to be able to actually have a unit on site until 2023. We will continue to use our temporary mobile unit that we have. We plan on continuing to engage the community with our current prototype unit. And our goal really is to help job seekers drive their future and connecting job seekers with employers by coming to them. Next slide. And with that, I will be happy to answer any questions.
So are there any members of the committee with questions for Quaylen?
Just want to say congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, yes, that's quite an honor, especially being only one of 3 in the entire country. Very good, and a big thanks to Bloomberg as well. I know this is with the city of Phoenix. I have one question. Are you doing interviews? Can people that live outside of the city apply? Because I'm assuming some of these companies have positions, throughout the valley. Is it open for outside of Phoenix residents?
So our main focus is City of Phoenix. So we are a local workforce development area, and we actually sit within a local workforce development area. So Maricopa County, we sit in their territory. So normally we work together and share kind of individuals. So we do help individuals outside of Phoenix. One of the trickiest things though is with employers. And so for example, majority, I think on one of the early slides, you saw transportation as an issue. We have been contacted by employers in Gilbert wanting to hire people in Phoenix. The problem is transportation. And so, for us, we are sticking to Phoenix employers. And then, our main goal is to address individuals in the city of Phoenix. But that doesn't mean someone from Tempe or Apache Junction, if they came to one of our events, we would still serve them. We just will not be going into Apache Junction in Tempe.
Right, right. Okay, thank you very much, Quillen. Any other questions?
I do have one question. If a domestic violence shelter was interested in getting the mobile unit for their particular shelter, is that a possibility as long as, of course, it's within this Phoenix?
Yeah, good question. So yes, it would be a possibility. And so the way this is going to work, DC, is that the mobile unit is actually going to sit in our Community Economic Development Department. They are going to work with employers on kind of, we believe in career pathways and high wage jobs. And so our goal is really to get people more than a livable wage. And so we would work with the community partner, kind of say, what are your needs are? We would try to match them with an appropriate employer or multiple employers. And then we would bring the mobile vehicle on site. We're looking at some pretty slick technology that we would be able to use, like appointments and scheduling the unit to come out. Those are all things we're going to work through this next year to make it as convenient as possible.
That would really be helpful for those shelters, especially in those situations. Many of the people probably even need new jobs so that they're not found by their abusers. So, all right. Any other questions or comments? Okay. Thank you, Quillen, very much for the presentation, and good luck with the unit. Thank you so much.
Have a great day.
You too. Okay. Are there any requests for future agenda items?
Madam Chair.
Yes, Councilmember Christine.
I would like to make a request because at this time I was informed about our judge magistrate that we have a program that we just started here in Chandler, and we are piloting it with My Sister's Place. It's a program where once someone entered the shelter and they are there and they need to have a protective order being put in, they don't have to leave the shelter. We are working directly with them. I remember one of the objectives that we had as a board was to educate our judges. And I had spoken with her concerning that fact, that it was important that they feel safe and they didn't have to leave to go anywhere else. Well, we've just implemented this program where we are allowing the social workers and those who are working with the women at My Sister's Place to file the petition on the place where they are currently in the shelter. They don't have to leave to go to the courthouse. And from what Judge is telling me is the fact that now we can do it for anywhere that they came from. If they were in Tempe or Phoenix and they move here, in the move into My Sister's Place, we are able to do the order and then send it in the jurisdiction where the person needs to be served to them. So it is happening right now, and I would love to have Judge Scoopin or one of her maybe designate come and do a teaching or explaining what this program is all about and how can we partner with people like the Dove and other places like that to get those protective orders being placed without jeopardizing the safety of the victims.
Okay. I have a question. Kelly, you may have the answer, or if anyone else in the committee. AZ Point, am I wrong in thinking that through AZ Point, there's a way of also getting that protective order digitally? Okay, so Samantha, can you speak on that? And is what I'm thinking is that maybe if we cover both, what Chandler's doing through Sister's Place, but are they using AZ Point with that?
No,
No,
they're not using it.
No, this is the court itself in partnership, and the court is doing it directly. Like the judge, we do it. We will be doing videos where they can actually interface with the judge and talk with the judge right there within less than 24 hours, making that happen, and so that they can have that protective orders in hand. It's happening with them being on site at my sister's place. And it's just a phone call. The connection is made. And Joe Coopin is telling me that now they're making that available and they're piloting it. This is something they're doing that's new. They're piloting it with my sister's place and then taking it out to other shelters as they need be. Because in Chandler, apparently she has a jurisdiction to provide those protection orders for whoever in Arizona.
Okay.
Madam Chair, Melissa Thomas has her hand up.
Yes. Member Melissa,
So,
please.
in addition, I think, so in Glendale, we also have a partnership with the Glendale City Court where we can do, so they still do the application in AZ Point. However, when they need to go before a judge, we actually can remotely put them on an iPad using FaceTime. So my advocate can go to wherever the victim is located, whether that's a shelter, whether that's the hospital, whether that's an alternate location. And we actually have a partnership with Glendale City Court where we call in and say, can we get a judge? And then we get them on FaceTime, and then the victim remotely can go via FaceTime in front of the judge and get that order. And then what they do, if that order is granted, they email it to my advocate so that my advocate can provide the victim a copy, and then they import it into AZ Point for service. So, the application is done via AZ Point, but, here in Glendale, and it sounds similar in Chandler, what they're doing is building that FaceTime kind of portal where they can actually do the second half, which is go before the judge remotely.
I cannot speak to what's happening in Glendale because I got this report from Judge Coopin as our magistrate explaining it to me. It's within an hour of that call being made that they get that protective order. Once it's done, so the person is placed into the shelter with my sister's place. That's currently who they're working with to make that happen directly. It seems like they have a link with them immediately to make that happen within an hour of when it that done.
Madam Chair, I will follow up with Councilmember Ellis to see that
Yes.
someone from this program can come and present to the council in the future.
Yes. Okay. I will contact you and we'll get more information and try and get that on the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Appreciate you.
And also, I think even Councilmember Melissa Brickhouse, if Glendale has a similar program, I think it'd be good to have a little more information on that. Are there any other member cities that know of a similar type program in your community that is doing the same thing?
Madam Chair, this is Chris Charlotte from Tempe. Yeah, that's exactly the same way we do it. I think was something that we went to during COVID was the AZ Point / FaceTime so that they could see the judge in a safe and secure manner. And so we will continue to do that. We've always had some methodology of doing that for safety reasons, but we will continue to do the interface with the judge via whatever device we have, whether it be our laptops or an iPad or a phone even. That is the way we will probably continue to do this for the rest of time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Madam Chairwoman, I believe the City of Phoenix Family Advocacy Center has also put something similar in place.
Yes.
Okay, I want to get with each of you and see if we can't, put this all together for the next meeting. This is good information to have. And if there are any others that, find that your city has that, please let me know. And we'll set that up because this is valuable information to share, especially now. We're still in the time of Zoom and not appearing in person. Plus, I think even without COVID, this sounds like a really good idea, safety-wise. Showing up to a courthouse when you know that the abuser can also show up, there's just a safety issue right there with that. So, looking forward to it, and I'll be in touch with each of you, Kristen and Kristen and Melissa. Thank you. All right. Are there any other comments or suggestions for agenda? Yes, Councilmember Vanden.
Yes, this is Councilwoman Bendy. I just have a question on whether we have put together a committee to work on promoting the curriculum for advocacy at the community colleges. Do we have any people that want to start working on that, or do you have a committee? Do you want to have a committee for that? I think our vice chair had brought that up at the last meeting.
I don't believe we have a committee. Are there members on right now that would be willing to be on that committee with Vice Chair Ernst? Okay.
Madam Chair,
Councilmember Bendy.
I think we may need to vote on that at the next meeting, the creation of the committee, but I could follow up with Councilmember Bandine between now and then to put that on the next agenda.
That sounds good. Okay,
that would be great. Perfect.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Anything else? Okay. Seeing no other comments and nothing further to discuss,
Madam
then
Chair,
yes.
sorry, I have two more announcements very quickly.
Yes.
I wanted to remind everyone, if you haven't seen, and I will be following up with you, sending you the invitation, the Arizona Prosecutors Association, I believe is the name, is hosting an all-day human trafficking conference on April 1st. It is free. It's in Tempe. I will send you the information if you're able to attend. As you can imagine, human trafficking and prevention of domestic violence go hand in hand. And secondly, February is Teen Dating Violence Prevention Month, and our council person, Sam, was going to mention what ACES DV has planned for this month very briefly.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Chairman or Madam Chairman and Kelly. So ACES DV does not have a lot planned this month. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I will let you know that we are going to do a social media campaign for teen dating violence. We are also our community partners addressing domestic violence, which is a quarterly 2-hour meeting through Zoom. It used to be in person. Some of you remember, but now it's virtual. Our CPADV meeting this month will be all around teens. So we're going to be doing a presentation about teen dating violence. And we're also going to be having a discussion with domestic violence shelters about the work that they do. If any, we recently sent out an assessment sheet so that we can figure out who's doing work with this community and who's not. Because honestly, we just don't know who might have a program. We know East Place does. We obviously, all of us know that Bloom is doing stuff. That's their, what they do. And we know that City of Phoenix does things for teens during this time, but we don't know if any of the DV shelters necessarily do programs for teens. And so we wanted to really kind of highlight that and figure out, like, is anyone doing this work? And if you are, what does this work look like? And the reason why we wanted to do this is that it can be a huge barrier. So barriers for teens when seeking help is services not designed with youth in mind. There's a lot of services out in the community that are not for 13-year-olds to 17-year-olds. And so how are we getting around that? How are we working on that? We want to have a whole discussion about it. And so that's what we're doing this month. We've already been getting information and resources from the national networks. So the National Network to End Domestic Violence, they have a couple teen trainings that are coming up, and I can send all of this stuff to Kelly so that she can send it out. Love is Respect is doing a campaign. Love is Respect is a huge teen national organization that does work on the prevention of teen dating violence, and they put out a great media campaign, and they make Facebook posts and Instagrams that we can all use so that we don't have to recreate the wheel. And they have a theme usually. And this year the theme is Let's Talk About It, because we just don't, right? Like, we just do not talk about teen dating violence, even though it affects 1 in 3 teens. And so it's something that we really need to talk about. I found this earlier too. Less than 3% of students reported abuse to an authority figure, and 61% of adolescents reporting abuse told a friend. Over 30% told no one at all. This is a huge amount of teenagers. This is a huge amount of our youth, and we just don't do enough preventive work in schools or in faith communities, or even in the DV realm, just because we don't necessarily we didn't plan our services with youth in mind. So we want to try to have that conversation, see where we can go with it, see what's going on out there. So that's really what ACES DV is doing this month, just trying to get information out there. I will tell you that the Chandler Domestic Violence Commission has been in talks to resume going back to schools during this month. So in the past, for the past few years, before COVID, pre-COVID, the Chandler Domestic Violence Commission was able to go to a few of the schools in the Chandler School District and have conversations, partnering with Katie's Way, to have conversations with youth. And it's been a great thing that we've been able to do, because it's been so interesting. We usually have over 100 kids at every school, and there's usually more boys that come to the table than girls, which has always been so surprising to us, but it shouldn't be anymore. But they just, they just want to know more. And so that's something that we're trying to resurrect this year. So there is stuff going on out in the community in Maricopa County. That's all I really know. I know that Bloom is starting to do stuff this month. They've already started their campaign for Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month. They have something going on this Saturday. So I can forward some of these emails that I've been getting and the resources to Kelly so that she can send them on so that you guys all have them. We would love to see some of the Facebook posts or Instagrams or tweets out there from the city of Phoenix or, the police departments on their website pages, all of that stuff, just to bring more awareness to teen dating violence. So that's really all I have right now. I see someone's hand is raised. I don't know if that's for me.
Hi, it's Chris from Tempe. From
Hi.
7. I just wanted to kind of echo what you were saying. There isn't quite as much of a focus on teen dating violence prevention. And if we think about it, there really should be, because if we can stop it before it starts, then maybe some work will dry up for us on the DV side. But I recognize that it's a hard population, as you were saying, Sam, to reach. And so we've partnered, our victim services program has partnered with our youth specialist program, where we're lucky enough to have Care 7 staff in all of the high schools in Tempe, as well as middle schools. Yeah. And so we have a whole campaign, a Wear Orange campaign. We have given all of the schools packets and awareness projects and things that they can do to promote prevention around dating violence. And so we're super lucky that way. And it's kind of like a built-in ability for us. However, I really do think that as a body, as an entity, that we should consider, and I like what you were saying, Sam, about the future, we should consider really putting more of a focus on this, because it is the only way to stop the current trends around domestic violence and human trafficking. And so I would like to see us brainstorm about things that we can do in our communities to get the word out. I think that one of the things that we talk about here at Care 7 is that when we respond and provide services for a victim of domestic violence, we actually know where the next victims are, because they're in the same household oftentimes. So we use that opportunity to bring awareness to the victim of domestic violence of what the exposure of that violence can mean for her children. And so kind of come at it from that direction. And also it might be the first time, if we can get the victim to agree, that we can broach that subject as advocates with the children as well, because it's a difficult conversation, like you were saying. And so let us do that for you. You never want your child to go through what you have been through. And often that the power of the mother-child relationship is much stronger than anything else. So that's how we approach it. But I agree with you. You know, we should calendarize like you guys do. You house the calendar for the adult stuff. I think we should start one with teen projects and programs and trainings and awareness, just to start having the conversation be more prevalent than it has been. So, you know, I think even if somebody gets it and they go, oh, we don't do anything, that's like the reminder, maybe you should be doing something. So thank you for talking about it, because it's really important. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Kristen. I really appreciate that. I think that, you know, if we started really doing more prevention work and really focusing on teen dating violence awareness month and just, you know, kept it going throughout the year, then, you know, maybe we just work ourselves out of a job. And I think that's the goal for all of us, to work ourselves out of a job and start doing something else, like petting bunnies or something. I don't know, but like, it sounds good to me. Council member, did you have a question?
Actually, I wanted to add from Ms. Williams when she mentioned what's going on around human trafficking. I know the 4th annual Night of Hope is happening in Chandler. I'm sure that Sam knew about that. It's February 6th at 5 p.m. Sunday night. It's going to be at the Cornerstone Church, 1595 South Alma School Road. CC Hope Center is going to be part of that, which is an organization that I believe Council Member Lopez Rene Lopez has helped founded. So that's going to be part of this program. It's going to be the 4th annual Night of Hope here concerning teaching and giving advocacy and also helping. I know that Gilbert is involved with that too. So it's going to be a great night for us here in Chandler. We would love to have other people come to see what we have to offer and all the resources that is rallying around that issues that we want to eradicate here in the state of Arizona.
Madam Chair, I will follow up. I will send a council-wide email after this meeting and ask for folks to send me these dates individually. And then I will put together a calendar and I will send it out to all of you along with the April 1st trafficking event. So everybody can have that on their calendars as they would like.
Very good. Thank you very much. I do want to ask Councilmember Hanji, the meeting that you're going to have, the Zoom, what date is that scheduled for?
I don't remember. Hold on, just let me look. We moved the date, so I think it's on February 23rd.
February 23rd. Okay.
Yeah, and anybody, and I can start sending that email. Like we can make sure that email gets to Kelly because we send it through the listservs. And so anybody can come to that. It's a community partners addressing domestic violence, and so we can and the registration. So when I send her the flyer, the registration is in the flyer. So if you want to register that way, that's the best way to do it. But we do a quarterly meeting. I'll let you know the next one will be in April, and it'll be a joint meeting between our SV team and our DV team, which we've never done before. And we're going to do a presentation on reproductive justice 101, because we're kicking off a whole series this year about reproductive justice. We're going to have lots of stuff and lots of topics. It's going to be good.
Very good. Very good. Thank you very much. We will be looking for that email with lots of information on it. And I hope others will be able to join the one on the 23rd on the teen dating. Also, thank you for sharing about the Love is Respect. It sounds like that can really be a useful tool for us to use as well on this Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month. Are there any other comments from any of the members? I thought I saw you, DC, with your hand up for a moment.
Just to hook into what the other members were talking about, and I know we're past this agenda item, but do we want to add teen dating violence to the next agenda, to an agenda item to start talking about as a council of whether we want to take up more discussion and action on how we can impact teen violence?
I think that's
violence. Sorry, I should probably put that in there. Teen dating violence.
Yeah, I think it's a good one to add in. Our next meeting will be, beyond this month, but we need to plan, talk about it. And the thing too is it's something we can continue to address throughout the year. We don't have to wait till next year to talk about it again. Again, like Samantha said, if we can eradicate the teen dating violence, we can pretty well put the abusers, and end that, because that's where they're learning it. And that's when victims are learning too. They're seeing it in their parents and older adults. So that will be good for the agenda. Okay, any other comments from the council?
Miss Sam, I'm still waiting for a call from you.
Okay. I'll make sure I do that.
Okay. If there are no other comments from the council or questions, then we will adjourn. All right. Thank you for attending, and we will see you at the next meeting. Stay safe.
Thank you all.